Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Indira Ghosh from JNU and today we are going to talk on module molecular simulation and flexibility of proteins under the paper computational biology. So what we would be learning in this module is that how we estimate the flexibility by using molecular dynamics of proteins and also the other macromolecules and the techniques of simulation, that is the method and thermodynamical concept behind this particular simulation and its application. We are looking at now the motion of protein and its flexibility. So what we would like to know is the biological molecules has flexibility and does it relate to its function? So the results and experimental data has shown that most of the biological molecules exhibit a wide range of timescales, and that's over which they have many specific interactions. Like they have local motions, and these local motions are of the order from 0.01 to 5 angstrom movement between every atoms. And these local motions occurs like very fast interaction. So 10 to the power minus 50 to 10 to the power minus 1 second. So much less than a second these local motions happens. And how one knows that where the local motion happens? It's atomic fluctuations. That's one example. Then some of the side chain motion. Mostly the exposed side chains, they would have many motions. Even internal side chains sometimes have motions. Then the flexible loops have motions. So these amounts that there is a different kind of motions and atom level motions in proteins. There is another set of motion that is called rigid body motions, and those are little larger in amount. That means displacement is quite larger, between 1 to 10 angstrom, and these motions are not so fast. They're a little bit slower than the local motions. Example of them are helix motion. Many biological functions are dependent on helix motions. Domain motions, that's hinge bending motions. This is very commonly observed in carbohydrate binding proteins. And many cases subunit motion. They also have interactions of functional importance. Then there is much larger scale motion, which is makes the protein to change its stable structures from one to another, like helix coil transition. Sometimes two association and dissociation happens between two protein structures itself, and folding and unfolding of proteins. These motions are much larger in amount, like much greater than 5 to 10 or 25 angstroms. Also, they are rather not so slow. However, they might be comparative to the rigid body motion, they might be a little slower, and their amounts are shown in per second, how many seconds one motion happens. Now, as we see here, biological molecules exhibit so many different level of motion, where not only the distance they move are different and order of difference, their motions per second also is order different. So this shows difficulty to understand and of the functional importance and what contributes which. Generally, it has been observed that all the combination of these motions makes possibility of functioning of proteins. Hence, we must study all these motions for every structures possible. What are the simulation methods to trap these motions? One of the very prominent motion trapping systems are being understood is called Monte Carlo class mechanics, and Monte Carlo molecular mechanics as well gives a lot of information regarding its kinetic energy separately and its energy for potential energy separately. However, molecular dynamics have been found to be more appropriate for protein understanding and protein motions. And it gives actually a lot of conformational space searching, which is important in protein functioning. These simulations is able to overcome many of the small energy barriers. Sometimes we can even explore the region which is not accessible so commonly at room temperature in conformation space. Monte Carlo method involves the selection and rejection of randomly generated conformers, that is on the basis of Metropolis criteria, without having involved the energy minimization method. Whereas molecular dynamic simulation is something like we can have high temperature method where we can have simulated annealing, that is we can access several conformation space which are not available in the room temperature. Also, we can increase the kinetic energies to explore many other energy surface and get to the minimized or localized minima energy space. The dynamics, molecular dynamics simulation actually gives us total energy, including the enthalpy and includes the entropy, if appropriately. So, presently, one uses most often the molecular dynamics simulation over the Monte Carlo method. Many applications in biology, particularly application in molecular dynamics and large proteins and carbohydrate, also membrane bound proteins, not only that DNA and protein interaction or some of these transcriptional elements and protein interactions with the DNA has been studied well. What it can do, lot of trust, like in addition to the earlier structure determination, it can give stability of protein, conformation changes. It can also suggest how ion transport happens inside the biological systems. Also, it gives a strong help for calculation of free energy for drug design. Many applications has been mentioned here. However, I would actually concentrate on the method developed for such an applications. The thermodynamic state of any system can be explained by N, P, T and V. Actually, one can take any three of the variables because it is related, any one of those two like P and V and P and T can be dependent each other by Charles and Boyle's law. However, here I show you that the mechanistic or microscopic states of every system, if we explain in a Q and P phase space, which is Q depicts the coordinate and P depicts the momentum, then one can actually see the thermodynamic terms. There can be three states, let us say, like state 1 and state 2 and another state called state 3. Then to go from one state to another state, if you transfer the states from one to another and reach to the state 3, one needs to have a free energy component coming out of the system. Now, this is a pictorial diagram of existing states with respect to delta G, which is the free energy of the system. Also, it depicts that at any point of time, if there are plenty of ensembles, that is, if a state function A, it can be N, P, T, V, any one of them, A, then the average of all the ensembles, all the microscopic states are almost equal to taken one state or one microscopic state and run for a long or almost infinite time to collect the data in the phase space should be similar. And this comes from the ergodic principle, and one can use either many microstates like many of those which has been specified like in the Avogadro numbers, or one can take one of the microscopic state and with time observed its trajectory or how it evolves and picks up the conformation at every point of time which is relevant. At the end, that is, lot of ensembles is collected, then the average of those should be equal to average of ensembles. So, molecular dynamics applies all of that. Molecular dynamic simulations actually calculate the motion of atoms using Newtonian dynamics. Now, if each atom I at a position Ri and it is treated as a point with a mass of Mi and fixed charge of Qi, then one can actually predict where it will be after a delta t or sometimes later. And that is solving the Newtonian classical mechanics equation. And this equation will be shown later, and earlier we have given some demonstration in previous modules. However, these are something which will be important for using in a time integration. The most difficult part of this equation to solve is we require a very efficient integration algorithm. Actually, it can be solved if we had a integrator or integration, but it should be discrete. Hence, it should be so good integration that the discrete steps, which basically a computer will treat it, should be possible, so small that it does not give any effect onto the actual trajectory. What is trajectory? Trajectory is the snapshots of each of these structures at different time point it goes through. This time integration algorithm are based on finite difference methods, and this is why it is not real integration, but it's a discretized integration. Hence, the time step is very important, and depends on the time steps, it should be manifesting its examples of this. When we discuss about the dynamics and ensemble, thermodynamic state of a system becomes very important. Now, what are the state functions? They are temperature, pressure, volume, number of particles, etc. Any of these four, we can use any three of them, and others will be related to each other. So thermodynamic, these properties can be derived from the equation state or fundamental thermodynamic equations. Now comes another state, which is microscopic or mechanical states, which actually on which Newtonian dynamics is operated. And that is atomic position Q, momentum P. Also, we must remember that QP consists of a large phase diagram. If we have, in case of protein, DNA, etc., macromolecules, we have a huge number of particles like 4,000, 5,000. In that case, if the system of particles are n, then obviously their 6n or greater than 6n dimensional space has to be considered, where the microscopic states will lie. Please do note, this 6n dimensional space can be also add up to additional few steps, and that is the system's motion also can be considered. So any of this phase diagram point, any single point would describe the state of the system. With this system, we would go to the next level, defining about the ensemble. The ensemble is a collection of points in the phase space, as I defined earlier. This satisfies the condition, either the thermodynamic state, that must be either the equilibrated thermodynamic state, or maybe on the way to become, or it can be one of the transition state, something like very identical to its macroscopic state. We would call that as a similar macroscopically, but not similar microscopically states. The molecular dynamics simulation actually generates points in the phase space, as we define, as a function of time. And these points belong to the same ensemble, and they correspond to the different conformations systems. However, and their corresponding moment. However, to create this space, it takes quite a long time. This trajectories has to be a large dimension space so that we can cover the space. Most often, this phase space is not covered. Hence, lot of times we require many trajectories to run to collect or populate the whole phase space. Only then we can calculate all the thermodynamic properties of the system. So, generally, actual experiment we have is macroscopic sample, which contains many microscopic examples or ensembles, and that should be around the Avogadro order, that is 10 to the power 23 samples. However, in our statistical mechanics approximation, where we use molecular dynamics under that systems, this average corresponding to these experimental observables are defined as ensemble average, provided we have huge number of samples covered. This average is taken over number of replicas of the system, as we mentioned. Now, this average, as has been depicted in the beginning, in thermodynamics, the average of this phase space can also be almost equivalent to an average of the long system with over the time space. And that is only possible by ergodic principle, only possible if we have covered a long system, a long time scale, or we have covered the whole phase space. Hence, instead of using this phase space ensembles, generally in molecular dynamics, people attempt to use trajectories, that is, which is a long time space instead of phase space, and average the property of every structures and their manifestation of differences over that time space. Moment you talk about statistical mechanics, one has to understand that how we average on over which type of states. Now, there are many combination, as I've said, NVT, NPT, and NVE, etc., etc. However, in molecular dynamics simulation, there are few very commonly used ensembles over the calculations, and that's why I would like to state those few ones. One is microcanonical ensemble, which takes care of N, V, and E, that is thermodynamic state characterized by fixed number of atoms, that is N, a constant volume and energy. However, this is also specifies as an isolated system because it does not exchange temperature from environment. Another system can be, and which is most commonly used by almost every users who use molecular dynamics programs, is canonical ensemble. That is, canonical ensembles can be also NVT or NPT, where NVT actually a state characterized by fixed number of atoms, a constant volume and temperature, hence it exchanges temperature with environment. Also, the NPT of the canonical ensemble system can be called an isobaric isothermal ensemble, the thermodynamic state characterized by constant pressure and temperature with a fixed number of atoms. Grand canonical ensemble is also a very useful method to study for a large, long, complex systems, and not much used in protein structure function relations, however, have a very high potential to use it. And that is characterized by fixed chemical potential, constant volume and temperature. And all these last three methods are mostly open system, not isolated. Normal cases, we use the canonical ensemble and isobaric isothermal system. This is the basic principle on which we are performing the trajectory or building the trajectories. Basically, we are trying to solve the Newton's equation, which states that the force is equal to mass into acceleration. Now, if we have force, this can be derived from a derivative of potential energy. Hence, on the left-hand side, we can write minus delta V delta Ri. Please note, on left-hand side, the derivative is with respect to space. On the other hand, the derivative on the right-hand side is with respect to time. To get the new position, we need to integrate to get the values. And as I stated earlier, what type of integration we need? We want to create a vast, long time simulation. Hence, we want a very fast one energy calculation per step, because every time step we have to calculate the whole system's energy. We also would like to not save too many things in our CPUs, because these protein numbers atom numbers would go from 4,000, 10,000 to 30,000. And if we use the solvent, that is the water, number of molecules may come up to almost mega number. That means 10 to the 6. Hence, we cannot permit all the time to have the CPUs. Also, we cannot allow large time step because the integration faults will be caught in it. However, every step we need to have a conservation of energy. So, under these conditions, we would manifest what are our limitations for using these good integration systems. The algorithm by which discrete system has been used, or discrete mathematics have been used, integration. However, the time step are taken cautionarily so that we calculate almost every step in such a small that it overlaps each other and the errors are minimized. One of such algorithm available in literature is called Well-Leapfrog algorithm, which basically expresses the requires actually is RT, that is when you starting point the coordinate, VT minus delta T, that's why it's called leapfrog, because half a delta T, that is delta T is time step, so just one time step beforehand the velocity and acceleration at the point of time t. Now, very interestingly, if we put these values, we can see that it can be expressed as given in three equations over here. Velocity can be expressed in this term, r with this, and the third one is acceleration. However, it is velocities are half a time step out of synchrony. Calculation becomes more complicated. Hence, one can use, instead of the Verlet coordinate leapfrog algorithm, we can use Verlet velocity algorithm, which is shown in the bottom, where you one required to calculate force of just one step back or force. Hence, this equation gives you much better off to calculate the velocities and the time steps. We would not like to calculate the velocities because only one reason. Actually, the system coordinates are taken from protein data bank, which is much more experimental data. However, the initial velocities, we do not know how the atoms are moving. Hence, we apply something like a standard Maxwellian distribution, which is dependent on every atom types, and we assign at room temperature or 300 degree Kelvin what can be a kinetic energy. This assumption actually may not be correct. Hence, calculation of velocity in our formula may reduce our accuracy of data. Hence, the adoption of the method has been taken. I will show you the next slide. So, mathematically, I have established how one calculates, integrates, etc. How actually we do in computer. So, we generate the structure. How we generate structures for every new steps. We take the initial structure, better to take it from as best accurate structure as possible. So best is to do X-ray, and many people do use homology model and others, but accuracy of those structures also becomes a burden for a simulation and their functions. Then comes, first one should do a few steps of energy minimization, which I have told you in the previous modules. And that is necessary because we remove most often the water which is surrounding the structure in X-ray. So it is much better to keep some of these waters in X-ray structures, and then we can put this whole thing into another set of water molecules so that solvation is taken care of. So in energy minimization is a required step because the protein structure gets a little adjusted to new space or new environment. After that, we should be doing equilibration as it is written as long as possible. This is a very difficult step. The reason is all the trajectories and everything, whatever we are going to take the states, we are based on the thermodynamically equilibrated steps. That means the structures all are equilibrated. However, it takes different timing for different number of atoms and different accurate structures. Some proteins are inherently not so easy to do the equilibration, and you would see the very different energy change, sudden energy change during equilibration. Also, one must remember that when we are doing the structures, which is the X-ray structure, which is near the experimental structure, we should not let the structure of protein to violate and go away from this equilibrated structure. Hence, we should not also do too much of equilibration so that the structure becomes something else. Hence, we must be very careful. It's a balance between how many steps we should do the equilibration and did the conformations what we picked up are going to be equilibrated or not. We can address these issues at the end. Now, after we have done the equilibrations, we can reasonably good. We should start capturing trajectories or new structures. That means the structure or ensemble of every conformers of this protein or macromolecule and DNA, etc., can be captured. And one tries to store not only the coordinates but also its velocity, because any point of time you can rerun those structures. As I've described earlier, it really doesn't matter. You can take a protein equilibrated structure, and if it has covered the phase space well, it should be able to reproduce any different places. However, please note, every time when you pick up a structure and run for trajectory, you cannot get identical coordinates. Please do remember this. The reason is that we are making a statistical approach to the system, not a highly deterministic values. Many of the students tries to interpret these values. Please do not attempt to do that. We must understand that every time we assign Maxwellian velocity to start our equilibration run or our trajectory pickup, we are assigning different type of velocity and different direction to the each atoms. Hence, it's very unlikely that we will get the same coordinates every time you run a trajectory. Now comes every structure. When we capture, before we analyze the structure, we must do a small minimization. Why? The reason is, while picking up the structures, there might be some of the bond energies are quite high, and next step, the bond becomes stabilized. However, what is our objective? Most often, we would like to see the non-bonded interaction of the proteins and DNA, or its ligand and proteins, or the protein-protein interactions are governed by non-bonded interactions. Hence, having this higher bond energy or bond angle is a rather a wastage of our simulation time. Hence, we should do a small minimization and pick up the structure to analyze further. Here is a picture which shows how actually the force, velocity and the coordinate change happens. So a row shows the coordinate change. So at time 0 means it is all are arbitrary, but the initial, if we apply a velocity which will convert and make the atom to move, the force would go in different directions, and that is decided also by the velocity we impinge on the atom. Depending on its kinetic energy and the balance with this potential energy, the atom tries to move in one direction. So as it's shown, the red direction, the atom moves. So it places itself from this position to a lower position. However, one must remember, it has been, as it is shown, the protein or macromolecules, DNA, RNA, and any of the biological macromolecules, so do all other chemical structures like ligands, etc. They are not actually free atoms. All these molecules, each atoms are connected and constrained by their bond linked with other atoms. Hence, there is a concerted motion in all the atoms, and that is how it is restricted to go in one direction or other. Now, here it shows the gray color time 0 becomes time 1 coordinate. So this is how the coordinate or space changes. And once more, the force on with the velocity which it has acquired, it will try to move in another direction. That at time 2, that's arbitrary time steps from 0 to 1 to 2, one can see 3 different conformers or trajectories are collected from these conformers. However, one must remember also at that level, this level pictorial, that many constraints together play the role of keeping the structures intact, which includes its kinetic energy as well as potential energy. Pictorially, you have understood how the steps of molecular dynamics are done. However, now comes the basic features. Now, what we should be very important factor or parameters for describing accurately, as accurate as possible as real case, the listed here. One is how good we have explained the force field or potential energy surface of the system. That is how nearest to the reality we have been able to describe the macromolecules by mathematical expressions. Next is how they react to solvation, how good they system behaves, how nearest to the reality it behaves when it is solvated, and what are the dielectric constant, which becomes very obvious because as has been described, it is dependent on dielectric constant, the electrostatic forces. Also, another important parameter is time step, which has been described when we describe the detail about the force field and how we integrate every point of time the integration is done. Time steps are very relevant. So, too large a time step may occur in making disturbed or non-convergence in the calculation of forces. Next is pressure. So, either the pressure or the temperature has to be kept constant or at least kept equal. Now, if we have assumed the system to be a canonical system, then pressure has to be kept around the isobars, proper isobaric system, or temperature should be kept around the equilibration. Then it will call a isothermal systems. Then comes the long-term equilibration. Now, this is the very important question which is everyone asks these questions. How long I should equilibrate that my simulation, my MD runs are done properly so that I can collect the trajectory. This depends on every macromolecular system. Also, it depends on how fast the system becomes equilibrated. This is very much important and has to be really find out by calculating initial stage, picking up some trajectory. We will actually address these issues in few more slides. Which we may not address in this particular module is the effect of pH. However, all biological systems are very much dependent on its pH, localized as well as global pH. However, we will not address such issues, but there are advanced MD simulation can be done where one can retain the proper pH effect also. So, I will go to the next slide to describe about how one takes care of dielectric constants and solvation effects. What we would like to talk about here is how is the dielectric constant and solvation. As I have already informed you that plays a very important role in the calculation of energy, and it's mostly used in non-bonded interaction, nowhere else. However, having protein soluble inside cell or the protein which is embedded in membrane do behave different dielectric constants. Hence, this value, which is simply looked at as epsilon r or epsilon 0 or multiplied both, defined as dielectric constant, does play an important role when it comes to solvations or structural solubility. Hence, most often it is better to use explicit water and try to find the water and protein interactions. However, many cases one uses a constant value of 80 at dielectric constant for full protein. However, we must remember the protein exposed to water has a different dielectric constant than the inside active site or inside protein structure. Here I will show you exactly how we calculate the next trajectory. So if we look at the position x2 of an atom after time interval delta t, then we have x2 equal to x1 nu1 delta t. Now this is the velocity v1 delta t or v2 velocity. Then v2 velocity would be equal to v1 into a1, which is acceleration delta t, and we can substitute a1 by putting the value from Newton's equation. Then what actually turns out to be that this v2, the velocity after delta t, is a function of v1 minus such a value. And as we said, how to get this value with the delta t. So here comes the spatial position to recover. We require the next point v1 or v2, which shows time integration method. So potential energy is a function of all the positions, all the atoms of the system. So there is no way we can calculate actually analytical solution by differentiating the equations or integrating the equations. So we have to solve it by numerically. Hence, we require this integration algorithm, which assumes position, velocity, and acceleration can be approximated by Taylor series. So we have used here or showed here the algorithm which takes care of these methods, which are several methods like velocity. Beeman algorithm takes care of expression of Taylor series with acceleration, and then velocity Verlet or leapfrog Verlet also takes care of the velocity, and standard Verlet algorithm is the coordinates, as it shows the Taylor expansion here. Now, why we can actually terminate the functions over 3 steps. The reason is the values of delta t square and delta t has to be assumed to be very, very small, that it does not affect the velocity or integration method. Here we show exactly the idea. So if we expand RT plus delta t in top equation and bottom is RT minus delta t, then if we do summing up these two, we get t plus delta t, that is RT will be a function of, the coordinates will be a function of the initial position, t minus delta t, which is half a position beforehand, one position, and the acceleration, which can be depicted by the derivative of potential energy. Hence, we can calculate by using this positions and accelerations, or positions and the potential energy calculations. Verlet algorithm does not include this particular method. What I have shown you does not include the velocity values at all. It uses only the advantage, that is very straightforward, and it does not use explicit velocities. Also, storage requirement is only one step early. That's all, the coordinates of the previous step. But the disadvantage is that it is not having very good precision. Hence, it will be dependent on the delta t value what we have used. And that's why choice of time step becomes very important. We must use a very small time step, as lowest as possible. However, so that the integration, the discrete integration, turns into a continuous function. However, it requires a huge amount of computation time to cover many phase space. Hence, the choice between these two is to take the 1/10 of the highest frequency of motion we are like to be interested. And in this case, CH bond stretching is around 10 to 14 per second. So we can have a value limited to 1 femtosecond. So most often people use 1 femtosecond as the delta t time step, and this could be also increased if we use the bond length restriction, or somehow if we can include some logic constant algorithm called shake, we can increase that time step a little bit. But it's better and preferable that we use the lowest time steps is 1 femtosecond. Another important function which is important for keeping the equilibration contained is that a thermal path, which is a concept which allows a system to be a perfectly canonical ensemble system. As we know very well, we would not like to have the motion of the system totally at all, because we are using NPT or NVT system. Hence, the momentum total should be equal to 0. Hence, if we use this equation, we can actually come up with the temperature or velocity of the initial state can be applied, could be expression like this. So when the system, we take the coordinate and employ this kind of velocity, already you have seen this kBT. Kb is a Boltzmann constant and T is temperature in Kelvin. We can calculate the temperature after every step by the equation here, T equal to 1 by 3n, which is the degree of freedom, and this value. So knowing the momentum, actually we can calculate temperature. So what one does is keeps the temperature almost around, fluctuating around the room temperature. One scales the velocity by a factor of T0, which is the 300 degree Kelvin, divided by this Tt, which one calculates average kinetic energy equivalent to T0. Hence, using this scaling vector, one keeps the something equivalent to thermal bath the whole system, so that the system does not change very much away from the normal equilibrium situation. I would like to specialize once more and remind you, which we started with, what are the different kind of motions. Depending on the motions what we are actually looking at or we would like to measure them, one should have the different kind of trajectory done. So if we are looking at the fluctuation, which is a small hinge bending or side chain motion, then a trajectory of a microsecond is a huge amount of ensembles and gives us an opportunity to calculate many of these features and many of the functions of the proteins. Whereas if we are looking at association and dissociation of protein molecules or DNA protein interactions, it is a really huge scale of measurement one has to do. So depending on the function and the motions we are interested and our scientific interest lies, we should be using that much of trajectory or the values whatever would like to run for. It's not any uniform way one can suggest that having any kind of time scale would give you a very good results or good accurate conformers. It is very difficult to pre-assume what type of things you are doing. It always depends on what type of work you are really interested. If we focus on a smaller time scale motions and emphasize it for its biological functions, we can be happy to run something like nanosecond trajectories. However, if we are looking at motion which is itself happens maybe 1 per second, we would require to run a lot more ensemble average to find that motion. However, there are a lot of new techniques by which we can actually leverage this kind of informations and we can use them for focusing our time scale to a large time scale, rather than we will lose the information which are there for a smaller size or much lower time scale. However, I have stated earlier that most of the functional work of the biological macromolecules are done with a complexity between all the motions. So many of the motions are important. So let us take example of this, interdependency between the different type of motions. A large scale transition like a domain motion cannot occur without a smaller motion like medium scale motion of like helix bending. So similarly, the several medium scale motions requires a helix adjustment or arranging, or some of the helix rearrangements of the medium scale motions might be necessary and triggered by some side chain movement. So what we see here is that even the side chain movement can occur with only by a fast atomic fluctuation, something like we can view as lubricant that enables a molecule to construct a few moves. Hence, this is an example that most of these motions always happens through the biomolecular motions with a combination of all the three different scale of motions. Hence, it is quite difficult to understand with one type of set of trajectory to analyze all the three set of motions. So it will be advisable that we should look into or focus into every level of motions with the different kind of trajectories we use. And many such new systems have been providing us such helps. It is very important because this molecular simulation is a very CPU intensive and hard disk intensive calculations. Much better to have some benchmarking. That is, one should know if we have different kind of systems and how much molecules, how much areas, how much CPU, which machines I should use. And it is also important for us to make notes that all these most famous softwares, and if they work under parallelization, what is their values. Hence, in 2011, as depicted, a reference was made, and I have cited here as well tables I have taken from that particular paper. Here you see that a system can be only a protein having only 642 atoms, and that can have a system with water, etc., will become 20,000 atom system, and without lipids but having some water, and we can have really a total number will be around 20,000. So one can roughly calculate by knowing how many atoms and what are the amount of environment or the setup we do. We can calculate what will be our biggest largest system. Could be a large protein with a huge amount of total atom, would be 3 numbers. Now, how they run with 3 different systems. So let us go to that. So with a hardware of high power computer systems, with each of this what you call softwares, one can estimate that actually large system, if we look at that, there are Charm and Gromax and different version of them, we can actually run these softwares are all have been benchmarked with to carry the same 5 of them by different parallel system. One has benchmarked Gromax and parallel system and NMD with BlueGene. There are others like Cray, which has been benchmarked with all the softwares almost available and mostly with double precision. A double precision is a requirement because of that accuracy in our integration. Table 3 actual gives, if I have 5 systems, like we have described which should be what systems, then each of these 3 hardware and what are the programs, how much time, CPU, nanosecond. So 1 nanosecond per day, this is the peak performance. We have got some values which observe peak performance as indicated due to the reason discussed. But these are the fastest observed. So note, actual peak performance is noted here. However, most often as you see this much nanosecond, they can be performing. Large computational facility hence is a very much prior requirement to do any kind of large molecular simulations. So let us summarize what we have learned in this module. What we have learned mainly in the protein structure module, that is how the protein flexibility of the module can be, estimated by molecular simulation. Most important factors are that how you describe the system and how you describe the structure. So description of the structure is very important. Also how we select the coordinate as best it is near the experiment data, like crystal structures, and with a good resolution structures, we will be getting better initial coordinates. Also it matters how good my energy function or mathematical expression or force field or potential energy surface is defined. Now, there are a few more questions which I would like to ask you to think about when you do this simulation. How well our empirical energy surface depicts the system, how nearest to it is to the nature, and how realistic we choose the functional form of the numerical constant, that means parameter files. Also, how well the energy surface, that is the phase space, is explored, which I have discussed earlier in terms of trajectory, how well those phase space is explored. The results would always be dependent on these few factors, and even after all these, it must be remembered that this particular systems being large system, and we have also shown you how the different high performance computers requirement for such a large space to be actually explored, and comparative of them has been also shown in previous slides. However, one must remember still the simulations are fictions and we are aspiring to emulate a reality. Hence, many a cases it may not really give you the correct depiction of the system actually experimental. So, data generated by such a systems must be evaluated in perspective of actual experiments. Thank you very much.